Hey everyone, Token Dave over here, the dorky token black guy that's just trying to get by. And welcome to another edition of the Token 10, my top 10 list on a particular subject matter, and this Token 10 is in conjunction with the Street Fighter Flashback. In celebration of the 30th anniversary of Street Fighter, I'm taking it upon myself to share my memories of playing the games in the arcade or at the home consoles at that period of time, and as well as share my personal thoughts and feelings or other Street Fighter related media. Okay, so I already gave you numbers 10 through 6 on my favorite Street Fighter games of the franchise. So this is a continuation of that list. And we're going to continue with number 5, Super Street Fighter 2. So from 1999 to 2008, we had not had a new Street Fighter game. And basically through that period, it was a bit of a dark time for the series and as well as for fighting games in general. However, when Street Fighter 4 came out in 2008, it revitalized the franchise and revitalized the game genre. So naturally, Capcom upped the ante with Super Street Fighter 4. This was the game that basically was an improvement on Street Fighter 4, but just some gameplay mechanics. But it actually gave in my personal opinion, basically my favorite cast of Street Fighter and Final Fight characters. I've got everybody from the Street Fighter 4 games. I get some people from Street Fighter 0 and some people from Street Fighter 3 and everything, all into one. So, while this is not like, they don't have all of my favorite characters in one game, this particular cast has a lot of the majority of the essential characters that I really liked and improved upon them, especially with their moveset. Their moveset actually looks a lot better, and when pulled off, it has more damage. So I really appreciate Super Street Fighter 4, and it's definitely my favorite of the 4 series, and it's my number 5 pick. Number 4, Street Fighter 3, Third Strike. Yes, the one Street Fighter 3 game that almost everyone universally praises is number 4. Now, here's the thing for me, if you saw my previous video on my favorite fighting game series, you know how much I really like Street Fighter 3 series and the Street Fighter 3 games, So, and I have to, and I will admit that basically Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, the music is like phenomenal, some of the gameplay options are like really great, and some of the character designs are a bit improved. So if I like this game so much, why is it number 4? And if everyone else like praises that, why is it number 4 on my list? Well, here's the thing. Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, to me, really, it doesn't, basically, everyone in some of the other games had a bit of a individualized identity to a degree, whether it be their background music, their moveset, and, their natural ability. Here, it looks as if Capcom artificially, altered people to their specific liking. Like, some characters are basically, they try to force you to really like a character or try to force you to really dislike a character. And, now, like I said, this is my favorite list and this is my bias, so I'm just going to flat out say it right here or right now. I feel like in this game, they really try to force you to dislike Sean and Yang, whom are actually decent characters. Especially Sean, because Sean's moveset in basically the previous 2 games, were decent. They were powerful and everything. So he seemed like a competent person to utilize. Here, they nerfed him like a mofo. Especially like I loved his variation of the Dragon Punch in the preceding 2 games, but here his Dragon Punch is terrible. His moves don't do as much damage and everything. And I know he's a joke character, but damn, Capcom, seriously, and it can be taken prejudicial right there, because sure, it is supposed to represent, like, despite him being Brazilian, he is supposed to be representative of, like, black folks to a degree and everything, because he's Afro-Latin and everything, and Afro-Cuban, and that's normally how Capcom portrays positive African Americans or positive blacks and everything. Well, not just Capcom, but most Japanese games in all, overall and everything. So, yeah, and with Yang and everything, while I do like his moveset has really not changed as much, you can see that they really forcefully put him in the background. Heck, look at his stage and everything, and look at Yun's stage. He's in Yun's stage in the background, like, standing there and everything. And it's like, dude, what the WTF, mofo? Seriously, So, yeah, that's why Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, with some of the other things that are awesome, it's my number 4 on this list. Number 3, Street Fighter 03. I mean, Street Fighter 02. Sorry. Just said 3 and everything. Ugh. Street Fighter 02. When Street Fighter 0 came out, it was awesome. It was cool and everything. But it did feel a little stiff. It did feel a little awkward. I'm not going to lie about that. That all changed with Street Fighter 02. The gameplay flowed a lot better. They added more characters from, the Street Fighter 2 series in here. They added some new characters and everything. Particularly, we're talking about Sakura, who is a fan favorite, who I like in doses and everything, but I feel she got overly pushed. But they also added more characters from Final Fight. I'm looking at you, Rolento, and everything. So, Street Fighter 02 is definitely my favorite of the Zero series and everything. And basically, I spent tons and tons of money on this game. Heck, I was in training at this time in my dojo, and I would have to go downstairs and around the corner to the arcade that was there, and they had 02, Tekken 2, X-Men Children of the Atom. Ironically, across the street from that arcade, there was a rival Taekwondo dojo, and, there was some beef between us and then everything, caused some fights to break out, but, overall great memories of waiting on that line to play 02. 02 was all over the place, so tons of fun. My favorite in the whole Zero series. Number 2, Street Fighter 3, New Generation. Street Fighter 3 New Generation is the Street Fighter 3 game that really gets a lot of flack unnecessarily. Heck, but it's really controversial because when it initially came out in Japan, basically it was, you did not have Ryu and Ken. You only had Alex in there. And as much as I like Alex as a character, if you saw my top 10 Street Fighter top 10 non-Shoto characters list, you'll see that basically Alex is really high up there. But do I think he could carry the franchise? To a point, But if we're talking about Street Fighter, you always have to have Ryu and Ken there, regardless, And that was a problem. Ryu and Ken were nowhere to be found. But despite all of that, Street Fighter 3, it did what the title said. Gave us a new generation of fighters and put us to the future. And it actually made Street Fighter more like you were fighting in the streets. It had a real urban feel to it. You had, most of the music was like, basically, majority of it was hip-hop inspired or R&B inspired, and had some jazz tunes into it as well. Plus, I like the newer variations of the characters, with Sean, the young Afro-Latin person whom is like, basically trying to take up the mantle of the Sasuke, but is like, not as refined because he's a rookie. Dudley, the outside boxer compared to Balrog as basically a slugger and everything, but he has a high pedigree of manners and nobility as the knight and everything. A bit of an interesting duology between the samurai and the knight with him and Duke. You also have yin and yang, great representation of Kung Fu and different styles of Kung Fu based around basically, Gen and Lee in the original games, as well as a bit of a variation of Fei Long within the Street Fighter 2 series, But I can go on, and I'm at 10 minutes and 49 seconds, so let's go into number 1. Street Fighter 3 Second Impact. This is my favorite game of the whole franchise. I will admit, there are some areas where this game falls short of Third Impact, but why is this one my favorite? Quite frankly, this is where I feel the Street Fighter 3 series really got fleshed out. It kept everyone, as their own identity. Every person has their own stage. Every person has their own theme song, with the exception of Yin and Yang, because their theme songs are pretty interchangeable. And the difference of basically, adding the EX moves and everything was a great addition, I had tons of fun playing this game in the arcades. It was hard to find Street Fighter 3 in my area. I did in Parkchester. I'm talking about Street Fighter 3 third generation, in the Parkchester area of the Bronx and everything, near where my best friend in my teenage years, whom also became my rival fighter from his Kung Fu temple, we went there to play Street Fighter 3, but I had to go into Manhattan to the Village to play Street Fighter 3 Second Impact, and it was worth that trip and everything, and I just loved the hell out of that game, especially, with the additions of, Hugo from Final Fight, Urian, if you saw my top 10 antagonists, he is up there and everything, and basically, we had the return of Gouki, whom, oh my god, Gouki's entrance on his stage and everything is amazeballs. And Gil himself, Gil is a little more difficult, but you could actually, he's not as OP and is not as aggravating, they toned him down a little bit, but he's still hard enough, and adding his Meteor Strike move was just awesome. So Street Fighter 3 Second Impact is my favorite game of the franchise, yeah, those are my favorites. You guys agree? Disagree? Drop me a comment below. Let me know what your favorite Street Fighter games are and everything. Follow me on like this video. Follow me on Facebook at Token Dave. Follow me on Twitter at TokenDave80. Subscribe and ring that bell so you know when a new video loads. But until then, this has been Token Dave, the dorky token black guy who's just trying to get by. And I'll catch you guys later.